I can't believe it worked. Those nuts from the Silver City were right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. For now, that doesn't matter. I'm free. Damn how I miss the fresh air. Although, things up here aren't exactly as I remembered. I still feel a strange weight in my heart. I can sense it. If I died now, I'd go straight back to that place. I have to do everything to prevent that from happening. Which means clearing the weight from my soul. I'm not exactly in a situation where I can help others. Damn, I can barely help myself. For now, I'm living in a homeless shelter while trying to find a job, which is kind of a hard thing to do when you don't have documents or a history or any kind of record. I mean, I did have these things once, but after I died, I'm sure my dear wife, with all her love and passion, threw them in the trash. The library's Wi-Fi sucks, and this computer must be older than the concept of time, but it'll do. It has to. I stumbled upon this place while searching for experiences similar to mine. I have no idea if half of the accounts here are real, but I hope you believe mine. I escaped from hell. I still vividly remember the centuries I spent there. Yes, centuries. Time seems to move differently when you die. I'm writing this here in an attempt to do a good deed and stay in the good graces of the man upstairs. Maybe by reading this, you'll decide to live a good life like monks in Sumeria, or donate all your belongings to the first charity that comes along. You know, become good people. But if for some reason you end up in that place anyways, let this serve as a quick guide of what not to do. And if you're lucky, survive hell and find a way out. I'm getting strange looks from the lady behind the counter. I better hurry up. I still remember the sensation upon waking up. One moment I was on the operating table. Vision blurred, doctor yelling at the anesthesiologist, lights dancing. From what I could gather, the bastard had gone out to have fun a few hours before my surgery, clocked in not so sober, and ended up screwing up the dosages, waking me up at the worst moment. A domino effect started, resulting in a massive loss of blood. When I came to my senses, I was dead. It was horrible. I feel claustrophobic just remembering it. It was as if I were trapped in a cast of cement covering my entire body. I couldn't see, I could barely breathe. A tremendous weight on my heart emerged, as if an anvil had been placed on my chest. I felt immense dizziness and an overwhelming sense of fear and shame. I wanted to scream, cry, anything to get me out of that prison. Something heard my prayers. I was ripped out of my body. That monument of flesh and bones was no longer necessary for me. I stayed still, coming to my senses, watching the doctors desperately trying to save me, but it was futile. I felt watched, as if something was evaluating me from all sides. A primal fear rose up to my throat as I collapsed into tears. Remembering it now, I think I finally understood. My soul knew exactly what was happening, and it could feel where I was going. I begged, screamed on my knees for one more chance, but how many billions before me had done the same? What reason did they have to listen to me? I felt like I was falling. I saw myself passing through the floor as I struggled to rise. I fell lower than the deepest pit, lower than the earth, lower than this earthly plane. My hands trembled just remembering. I fell like a shooting star through a dark sky. A foul air filled my lungs as my eyes adjusted to the sight below me. Up here, we have many names for it. Hell, abyss, limbo. Down there, they call it Gehenna, the last city to ever exist. My first day in Gehenna was like those of many who came before me. I fell like a sack of shit into a pit of tar. Still in shock from it all, I struggled trying to get out. That black goo is always as hot as Satan's oven, sticking to your skin, and if you don't get rid of it quickly, it can dissolve you in a matter of minutes. I fought until I was out of strength and sank, agonizing as if drowning in boiling oil, my screams of pain muffled by the pit until my last moments. For the second time that day, I died. Imagine my surprise when I woke up again, falling directly into the black lake. I don't remember how many times I suffered in that loop until I finally managed to escape, naked and with my legs red raw. Around me, collapsed buildings and filthy houses, uneven ground and sharp and jagged rocks everywhere I went. A black sky through which people fell constantly. A foul air that weighs heavy and hurt to breathe. I could hear strange grunts like those of a hyena. With fear gripping me, I followed my instincts and fled, running aimlessly with bare feet sinking into the ground towards the city. I could hear something following me, several things hunting me. They seemed to be enjoying the exercise. I don't know what was worse, not knowing what they were or what they looked like. In the distance, I could see what looked like an entrance to a subway. Without thinking, I ran, fear propelling my body, which only became heavier with each step. I could hear the panting of several creatures behind me, the flapping of wings, and the cacophony of guttural laughter preventing me from looking back. The exhaustion was overwhelming, the pain indescribable. I stayed focused only on the subway. Maybe I could lose them down there. With one last effort, I threw myself down the stairs and was embraced by darkness. I crouched behind a bench and covered my mouth, trying to control my breathing. With my eyes fixed on the stairs, I could clearly see the figure of the monster descending them. At first glance, its appearance reminded me of a skinless lion, but it was much larger than the king of the jungle. Its two pairs of eyes resembled those of a reptile, jaw opened wide, displaying 2 rows of uneven sharp teeth, wings like those of a raven. Its forelegs proudly displayed huge claws, still stained with the blood from its last hunt, and its tail was almost as large as its body, coated with a carapace and ending in a sharp point, reminiscent of a scorpion's stinger. I was too scared and tired to do anything other than be quiet and wait, hoping it would miss me. Too tired to realize that with its physique, catching a wounded prey shouldn't be difficult. Too tired to notice the dozens of others lurking in the darkness. Too tired to realize that I had been led to its lair. As I was massacred by the pack, I realized they were doing everything possible to keep me alive until the last moment. Cruelty was ingrained in their nature. As I fell once again towards the pitch pit, I finally realized that every piece, every being in this place was made solely to agonize and torture, to cause pain and lamentation. As I died for the 3rd time in the same day, I came to understand the true nature of hell. Eventually, I managed to escape from the pit and the pack of hunters, fleeing far from the city, away from the buildings, and collapsed at the entrance of a cave. I guess this is a good stopping point. It's almost time for my job interview. A former convict chef gave me a chance to work at his burger joint. It's not the best, but I can't afford to be picky right now. Hell holds many dangers. If you find yourself there upon death, go as far away as possible from the tar pits. It's the favorite hunting ground of the scavengers. Back in the same dusty corner of the library, I'm starting to think I'm the only one who uses this computer. Better this way. I don't want to rush anything. I've lived decades with my senses on edge without being able to rest. I think I deserve some peace after all I've been through. Good news! I got the job. I mean, frying burgers is as fun as it sounds, but hey, it pays for the room I'm staying in and leaves me with some change to eat. For now, I have nothing to complain about. My first week at work was easy compared to my first week in hell. I don't like suspense, so I'll cut to the chase. I had no clue what I was doing. When I woke up, I was thirsty and famished. I would eat those creatures if they weren't so terrifying. I've always liked to feel in control, having backup plans for my backup plans. That's how it was in my company, that's how it was in my life. I've always been this way since school. It was what caught the attention of my now ex-wife. She said I had strong leadership traits, that I was destined to lead people, or some crap like that. I don't remember exactly. It's been centuries after all. The point is, for the first time in my life, well, now afterlife, I was completely lost. Naked. distressed, and injured. The full mortal package. Before wandering aimlessly, I needed to at least sort out the chaos that had taken over my mind. At this point, I had it right. If any of you end up in that place, just accept that you're screwed and try and make the best of it. Denial won't get you anywhere. I was dead, I was in hell, and for some reason I could still die, but always came back to the same place. Those things, I definitely didn't want to see them again, so in the end, I decided that the city was a horrible place, but where to go next? I needed clothes, food, shelter. Peering through the mouth of the cave, I saw the place I'd arrived in my desperation to escape those pits of torture. A gray plain with dead, twisted trees. They were as tall as pine trees, but all bore a hauntingly human shape in their trunks. I felt watched as I looked around. In the distance, the city still stood out amongst the throng of people descending upon its skyscrapers. At that moment, I wished so much to have escaped with someone. I've never been a very needy guy, but when the fear of the unknown embraces you, your primal instincts tell you to seek salvation in numbers. In truth, I was lucky not to have bumped into any of those psychos so soon. I just didn't know it yet. Without much choice, I slowly emerged from the cave and ventured deeper into the depths of the forest. Hell is strange. Its flora, fauna, and biomes have been meticulously engineered to cause stress and confusion in humans, yet, amidst it all, its inhabitants have found a way to adapt. As I walked through the corrupted forest, I could hear strange wails echoing through the wind. Sometimes they seemed to draw near, but there was never anything when I turned around. My throat longed for water. I was so tired. But I had to continue. Something was off with that place. I feared that if I fell asleep, I would turn into one of those weird trees and be stuck there until the end of times. So I kept walking. Even when the trees grew mouths that whispered promises of an eternal blissful dream. Even when their branches became hands so gentle and charitable, only seeking companionship. They were so lonely, seeming to have waited millennia for me. Even when the earth became green and vibrant before my eyes. A small part of me resisted. It knew what it meant to accept all that beautiful lie. Somehow, I managed to make it through the forest in one piece. I know. What a lucky bastard. I found myself staring at the edge of a long, bubbling red river, its bank adorned with wooden stakes. To this day, I have no idea who made all that. The river flowed to the horizon, where I glimpsed the spire for the first time. Look, Dante Alighieri is nothing but a damned fanfic writer who inserted himself into his work and somehow echoed through history, but he got one thing right in that book. Hell is divided into levels. The spire is a colossal marble column that traverses the circles of hell, the only way to ascend or descend. Its silhouette is unmistakable, with protrusions resembling spikes jutting out from the sides, each with hundreds of feet in length, making it imposing no matter from which angle you see it. I had no idea at the time, but I was wandering through the welcome hall of the abyss. The second circle of hell, lust. My first instinct was to pull out one of the stakes from the ground and use it for my protection. I clung to that with all my sanity and felt lighter seeing that I had means of defense. I continued walking along the bank in search of something, anything that could help me survive. From time to time, I would see the shadow of something large passing through the clouds and would throw myself to the ground, trying to blend into the dead grass and not be seen. The hunger was unbearable. I felt weak, an easy prey. I needed to eat. Nothing ever comes easy in hell. I was about to learn this the hard way. After hours of walking, I was greeted with something different in the dead landscape. a solitary bridge that allowed crossing the boiling river. Alongside it, a new sound came to my ears, the cry of a wounded beast. I tightened my grip on the spear and approached the structure. The bridge was quite rustic, a bit unstable, but it did its job well. Pieces of wood connected by ropes made from the hair of some creature, and in its midst I saw, trying to reach the other side, with a leg broken and staining the loose planks with the grayish blood, a kind of gazelle. Her fur was white, and she had 2 pairs of horns and eyes. She seemed at times to have difficulty breathing, grunting in pain as she moved forward. Desperation makes you do stupid things. Without thinking, I threw myself against the peculiar gazelle, driving my stake into her back and piercing her chest. She screamed in pain and fell onto the bridge with a wet sound. I remember smiling, thinking I could easily adapt to that place. After all, it was just a matter of being smart. I didn't know at the time that it wasn't just humans that hunted using bait. In the Book of Enoch in the Bible, it is mentioned that angels fall from their celestial post to the present day. You might even think that being angels, they would be the remnants of goodness in such a cruel place. But remember that just like most of those in Gehenna, they fell for a reason. I was so busy trying to carry the gazelle's body to the other side of the river that I didn't notice the shadow in the sky had returned, and it was coming towards me. The first thing I felt was its twisted beak tearing off a piece of my right shoulder, missing my head by inches. Screaming in pain, I turned to face my attacker, and my heart nearly stopped. It was beautiful. Terrifyingly beautiful. A level of symmetry that shouldn't exist in this world. Its main body resembled that of a white horse, covered in hundreds of constantly moving eyes. Where its eyes would normally be, a golden ring sat, encircling its head and reflecting my horrified expression. On each of its legs, a small pair of black wings beat constantly, while its entire body emitted an intense glow that seemed to hold my eyes captive. But I felt it was not just that. Its body expanded through planes I couldn't see. Invisible hands massaged my head, trying to force their way into my mind. I stood there, incredulous, trying to process, to rationalize the divine beast hovering in front of me, ready for the next onslaught. With a piercing roar, the angel snapped me out of panic mode, and I rushed to pull out my spear, but the tough carcass of the animal refused to surrender my weapon. Once again, I ran for my life. The other side of the river harbored a set of steep hills with slippery rocks emitting a faint smell of ammonia. The unknown had proven deadly, but between it and the wrathful angel, I decided to test my chances. Looking back, I couldn't see him anymore, but in my mind, I could feel an intruder. Analyzing my thoughts, knowing the core of my being, predicting my movements. I felt a sharp pressure in my head. I couldn't escape. A being that doesn't need to touch you to kill you, to play with you. Desperation and fear took over my body, and I just climbed. Among the rocks and dozens of hills, it was hard to find me. But he could feel me. I knew that. I could also feel him in my mind. I felt his fury, his anger. He told me everything you know, everything he would do to me when he found me, in a sophisticated and forgotten language, but for some reason I understood. I just huddled among the rocks and cried, the danger increasing every minute, and in a ridiculous act of desperation, I prayed for mercy. Which is the worst thing you can do with an angel nearby. It's like sending a signal up saying, I am here. After that, he easily found me. I thought I was going to die. He wouldn't spare me from torment so easily. With his perfect gleaming teeth, he grabbed me, and I was taken toward the spire, toward his nest. Angels are like cats. They love to play with their prey. I was bound to a rock on one of the protrusions of the spire, hundreds of meters from the ground. He would disappear for days, return, and slowly feed on me, relishing in my suffering. I thought I would be condemned to this for the next few years, and I would be, were it not for a fortunate surprise. One day, after a fruitful session of torture by my captor, I was awakened by gentle touches on my head. Before me, covered in dirty rags, boots made from the skin of some animal previously unknown to me, and a strange metallic mask, stood the first sinner I had seen in hell. Alright. The library is closing, and this chair is killing my back, so I guess this is where I'll stop for today. Remember, hell is a deceitful place. Never let yourself believe in false promises of salvation.